You're living in a house you built from blueprints you never chose. Every relationship you've entered, every conflict you've endured, every pattern of emotional chaos or cold distance that keeps showing up in your life, all of it traces back to a template that was drawn before you could speak. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly how your subconscious has been furnishing your adult life with childhood furniture, and more importantly, how to start choosing your own design. Think about the last time you felt truly at home in a relationship. That warmth, that sense of settling in. Now ask yourself something uncomfortable. Did that feeling arrive because the person was genuinely good for you, or because something about them felt like a frequency you'd been tuned to since birth? There's a difference between resonance and repetition, and your subconscious has been confusing the two for decades. The inner mind operates on one core directive above all others: survive. And survival to the deepest part of you means staying inside the known. The known is mapped territory. The subconscious has walked every inch of it, catalogued every threat, memorized every escape route. The unknown, even when it's objectively better, registers as danger. Your subconscious would rather keep you in a painful pattern it understands than release you into peace it hasn't mapped yet. This is where it gets personal. If you grew up in a home where love came with conditions, where affection was earned through performance, where a parent's mood dictated the emotional weather of the entire household, your subconscious didn't file that under dysfunction, it filed it under normal, under home, under how love works, and every day since it's been scanning for environments that match that file. You've probably noticed it without having language for it. The way you're drawn to people who run hot and cold, the way consistent stable affection makes you restless instead of relaxed. The way you can intellectually recognize a healthy dynamic and still feel nothing when you're inside one. That emptiness you feel around calm, available people, your conscious mind calls it no chemistry. Your subconscious calls it uncharted territory. Proceed with caution. Neville Goddard taught that the state you occupy determines what you attract and experience. He described states as the total emotional atmosphere you inhabit, the assumptions running beneath your conscious thoughts, like an operating system beneath a screen. Your childhood home was your first state. You lived in it so completely for so long that it became invisible to you, like water to a fish. You didn't learn to occupy that state, you were marinated in it. So when you leave home at 1822, whenever you physically walk out, the state walks with you. You carry the emotional climate of your childhood in your body, in your nervous system, in the assumptions you make about what you deserve, how people will treat you, and what love costs. You move to a new city, start a new job, enter a new relationship. The geography changes. The state doesn't, and states are creative. Goddard was clear about this. Consciousness is the only reality, and the state you occupy is the lens through which consciousness projects your world. If your state says love requires sacrifice, you will find yourself again and again in situations that demand sacrifice. If your state says people leave, you will attract people who leave, or you'll push stable people away until they confirm the assumption. The subconscious is loyal to its programming, with a devotion that borders on religious. Here's where most people get stuck. They try to change the pattern at the level of behavior. They read about attachment styles. They make lists of green flags and red flags. They tell themselves, next time, I'll choose differently. And then next time arrives, and the body leads. The familiar frequency hums, and something deep beneath thought whispers, this one feels like home. The conscious mind never stood a chance. You can't outthink a state. You have to shift the state itself. So how does the shift happen? Goddard's answer was devastatingly simple. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, but simple and easy are different countries. Assuming a new state when every cell in your body is tuned to the old one requires the kind of sustained inner discipline that most people underestimate. It means sitting in meditation and inhabiting the feeling of being deeply, safely loved, and tolerating the discomfort that arises when your subconscious screams that this feeling is foreign and therefore dangerous. The discomfort is the work. That resistance you feel when you try to imagine a version of love that doesn't require you to earn it, monitor it, or brace for its withdrawal. That resistance is your subconscious defending the old blueprint. Every spiritual teacher who understood the inner world knew this. The Bible speaks of dying to the old man. The mystics call it the dark night. Goddard called it the crossing, the uncomfortable gap between the state you're leaving and the state you're entering. The gap where nothing in your outer world has changed yet, but you've committed to living internally as though it already has. Most people turn back in the gap. The old state is magnetic, it pulls. A week into your new assumption, someone from your past texts you. An old dynamic resurfaces. Your body responds with the familiar cocktail of anxiety and longing, and the subconscious sighs with relief. Home again. The gap closed, the old blueprint restored. But you can cross it. Every time you notice the pull of the old pattern and choose to return to the new assumption, every time you catch yourself replaying the old story and deliberately shift to the new feeling, you're weakening the old state's hold. You're teaching your subconscious a new definition of home. Think of a child who grows up near an airport. The roar of planes overhead becomes silence to them. Their brain literally stops registering the sound. Then they move somewhere quiet, and the silence keeps them awake at night. The absence of noise becomes the disturbance. That's exactly what happens when you start to leave your emotional blueprint behind. Peace disturbs you. Safety feels suspicious. Love without conditions feels like a trick. Your subconscious is lying awake, listening for the planes. Your job is to stay in the quiet long enough for it to become the new normal. To sit in the new state with such persistence that your subconscious eventually remaps its territory. This takes weeks, sometimes months. Goddard spoke of living in the end, occupying the state of your fulfilled desire so completely that it becomes more real to you than the evidence of your senses. That's the crossing. There's a question worth asking, one that cuts through every layer of intellectualizing. What emotional environment did you grow up in, and where are you recreating it right now? Be specific. If your childhood home was one where you had to be hypervigilant, always reading the room, always anticipating the next eruption, where in your current life are you performing that same surveillance? If you grew up feeling invisible, where are you tolerating invisibility now and calling it independence? The pattern won't dissolve under analysis alone. Awareness names the wound. The state work heals it. Every night as you fall asleep, you have an opportunity. That drowsy state between waking and sleeping, what Goddard called the state akin to sleep, is when the subconscious is most receptive. In that window, you can plant a new seed. Feel yourself in the relationship that is warm, stable, and safe. Feel the ease of it. Feel the absence of the old vigilance. Let your body taste what it's like to be loved without performing, without monitoring, without bracing. Your subconscious will resist. Let it resist. Resistance means the new impression is making contact. A seed that slips into the ground without disturbing the soil was never planted deep enough. One night won't rewrite decades of programming, but you've spent years reinforcing the old state without realizing it. Every time you told yourself, this is just how relationships are, you watered the old blueprint. Every time you interpreted someone's availability as boring or their consistency as a lack of passion, you were translating through the old state's dictionary. You were fluent in a language you never chose to learn. You can learn a new one. The grammar of safety, the vocabulary of love that arrives without an invoice attached. Each night in the new state adds a sentence to the new language. Each morning where you wake and choose the new assumption over the old evidence adds a paragraph. You're writing a new story, and the subconscious, that devoted, loyal, pattern-matching part of you, will eventually read it and believe it. Because the subconscious doesn't distinguish between a real experience and one vividly imagined with feeling. Goddard built his entire teaching on this principle. The childhood blueprint was real, the emotions were real. The survival strategies you developed were brilliant adaptations by a small person with no other options. Honor that. The child who learned to read the room kept themselves safe. The child who learned to earn love found a way to get what they needed. Those strategies deserve respect. They just don't deserve residency in your adult life. You're standing at the threshold between the home you inherited and the one you can build. The old blueprint is familiar. Every room mapped, every creak in the floorboard memorized. The new one exists only in the feeling you hold as you drift to sleep. For now, that's enough. The feeling is the foundation. Everything else follows. Tonight, when you close your eyes, build one room in the new house. Just one. Feel its walls, feel its warmth, feel how safe it is to stand inside a space that asks nothing of you except your presence.